Philippine President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. could get closer to sealing a deal on trade when he meets the U.S. president in their first face-to-face later this evening. Mr. Marcos is the first Southeast Asian leader to meet Donald Trump in his second term in office. Mr. Marcos has already met the Defense Secretary and the Secretary of State. Hegseth and Marco Rubio restating strong commitment for a long-standing ally, given Manila's concerns over Beijing's assertiveness on territory in the South China Sea. They also pledged commitment to a defense treaty now 70 years in the making, promising defense by ramping up military resources.
Our alliance, the United States and the Philippines, have formed a great part in terms of preserving the peace, in terms of preserving the stability of the South China Sea, but I would even go as far as to say in the entire Indo-Pacific region. And we are always very, very happy to continue to strengthen that relationship.
Together we remain committed to the Mutual Defense Treaty. And this pact extends to armed attacks on our armed forces, aircraft, or public vessels, including our Coast Guards, anywhere in the Pacific, including the South China Sea.
Let's go live to Nick Harper in Washington, D.C. Nick, the Philippines trying to combine both security and trade issues to sell this as a deal to the U.S., saying a truly strong Philippines as a partner on security would require a Philippines that is also strong economically, possibly a pitch for lower tariffs by Mr. Marcos to Mr. Trump.
Yeah, we see very interesting this idea really of a double deal that we'll be seeing being put on the table later, trying to combine various issues that President Marcos Jr. is hoping Donald Trump will want to take up. It's those bargaining chips to try and reduce tariffs, tying trade and security. When it comes to trade, there is the possibility of the Philippines offering mining concessions to the United States. Donald Trump, in terms of deals he's done with other countries, we've seen it with Ukraine, most recently with Indonesia, looking for those countries to give the US access rights to rare earth minerals. And the Philippines has nickel that it already exports to to China, rather, that undoubtedly President Marcos will be offering up to give to the United States as well. So there is that possibility of getting some minerals. When it comes to security, it could be a chance of offering more access to military bases in the Philippines. Now, back in 2014, the Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement meant that the Philippines gave the US access to 5 bases, allowing the US to position its personnel, its equipment on those bases. In 2023, during the Biden administration, we saw that being expanded. An extra 4 bases were made available to the United States. President Marcos said last year there would be no additional bases offered up to the US. But of course, now we have this issue of tariffs. And in trying to win concessions for that potential 20% tariff rate, we could see the president giving more access along with a potential mineral deal. So tying those two together, both trade and security being offered up potentially to the United States.
President Marcos might also make concessions in terms of upping the Philippine contribution to its own defense. We've seen the U.S. putting a pressure on European allies and Asian allies at the Shangri-La Dialogue, saying if Europe can step up to meet its own defense needs, why not its allies in Asia?
Well, undoubtedly, yes. Donald Trump pushing NATO allies to up their defence spending from 2% to 5% GDP. There is the possibility that they are looking for Asian allies to do similar things, as we heard from Pete Hegseth at the Shangri-La Dialogue, saying that the Asia-Pacific is our priority theatre. That is the place that the United States knows that it needs to counter China. And of course, that desire, that hope is something that the Philippines has been working towards again, as well. There is already that mutual defence agreement between the US and the Philippines. It's decades old, dating back to 1951, that ability for both of them protecting each other in the South China Sea. The US, with Pete Hegseth's announcement yesterday, promising new ramped-up technology to the region, including deploying new cutting-edge missiles, deploying unmanned systems and revitalising, he said, the defence industrial base. But is it an opportunity for the Philippines to step up their financial commitments? That is something that we're expecting President Marcos and President Trump to speak about later, because undoubtedly for the Philippines to step up their own financial commitment, that's something that Donald Trump might want. And of course, as part of that bargaining chip to reduce the tariffs, it could be another thing that the Philippines could offer to incentivise this deal.
Thanks. Nick Harper looking at this, a careful merging of interest for the Philippines as the president pays his visit to the White House. Nick Harper, live from Washington, D.C.